Chapter 706, The Beaten Dignity of an Elderly. Moe was an old man and had experienced too many surprises in life, so the revelation did not create any ripples in his heart. He followed Lulu and then came to the foreign-style pavilion in the deepest part of Paradise Manor. He got off from the viewing car and looked around with a bit of appreciation, nodded and said, "This Paradise Manor has a good environment. Truly a good place to retire and spend my old age." "Retiring here?" Ouyang Lulu secretly rolled her eyes. This Paradise Manor was the chicken that laid golden eggs for her. Who would want to support the elderly who wanted to retire here? "It's been laborious on you, Professor Mo." Tang Xiu walked out of the foreign-style building and warmly greeted him. "You're my boss now and you want me to come over? How would I dare not to rush over as fast as possible?" Moe smiled. "The transportation means are very developed nowadays, so I don't feel too tired. Anyways, I heard from this young lady here that you have a pleasant surprise for me, is that right?" "A pleasant surprise?" Tang Xiu glanced at Lulu with a strange expression. Did this girl just dig a hole to prank Moe? If Moe saw Shenzhena's vampire appearance all of a sudden, he could become scared to death. "I don't think it would be a pleasant surprise to you. It's more likely for you to freak out, to be honest. Anyways, I'll tell you in advance, though. It's not your ordinary living being you will be seeing." Moe could not help laughing and said, "Not an ordinary living being?" "Relax. I'm already old and have traveled to many places in this lifetime and saw a lot of strange living beings and species as well. I won't frown or freak out even if a ghost appears before me." Tang Xiu originally wanted to tell him that it was a vampire he was about to see, but he did not expect that this old man turned out to boast, thus making his intention to tell him to die out. He just nodded and smilingly said, "All right, since Professor Mo is used to seeing strange living beings, let's just go in. I've told her to get prepared and just wait for you to come." After entering the multi-story foreign-styled building, Moe shot a curious look at Shenzhena in the living room. But the instant he saw her, his body trembled and his pace staggered, almost slumping to the floor. Luckily, Tang Xiu's reflexes were good and propped him up. "Are you okay, Professor Mo?" asked Tang Xiu with an expression of being a loss whether he had to cry or laugh upon seeing his complexion that instantly turned deathly pale and horrified. Moe's lips shivered, looking at Shenzhena's vampire appearance with a disbelieving expression. The opened pair of wings, scarlet blood eyes, and those two sharp fangs. Isn't this a vampire? Like that of in the legends? After half a minute, Moe's breathing returned to normal, but he still felt lingering fear and forcefully resisted his impulse to run away. He squeezed out a forced smile and said, "Tang. Be boss. This how is this possible? How come vampires exist in the world? Haven't you seen a lot of strange creatures already, Professor Mo?" Tang Xiu slightly smiled. "Is the existence of vampires on Earth worth making a fuss about?" Moe almost vomited out a mouthful of his old blood, while feeling a burning sensation on his wrinkled old face as though someone had just slapped him a few times. He felt like he wanted to find a hole to burrow himself into to hide his shame, but too bad there was no crack at this moment. Previously, he thought that even if he did encounter some strange living beings, he would not be freaked out and make a fuss about it given his experience. But who could have thought that it was a living vampire? "Shenzhena, this is Professor Mo, a world-renowned biologist, and a physicist as well," said Tang Xiu with a light smile. Shenzhena let out a faint smile. As she came forward and saw Moe subconsciously step back, she tried to reveal her gentlest appearance and said, "Hello, Professor Mo. I genuinely admire the so-called professors with their deep knowledge. A teacher of mine once taught me in a very famous university in the United States, and we're also quite close." Moe's calves were slightly trembling. But when he saw that Shenzhena was so amiable, he barely controlled himself and said with a forced smile, "Sean. Shanjena, right? Why you're really too much of a surprise, to be honest. I apologize first, but you just piqued my curiosity. Ordinary humans will definitely react just like you did when they see me. Shanjena smiled. The bloodkin, however, are not allowed to appear in front of ordinary humans in our true form, so I did not scare others before coming here. After some talk, Moe, who had strong tolerance and ability to accept anything, finally got used to Shanjena's identity as a vampire. As his fear slowly disappeared, an intense curiosity replaced it. He circled around her and then sighed in admiration, incredible. It's really inconceivable. I used to imagine that the existence of vampires, no, bloodkin is real in this world. Never did I think that the imagination of mine would turn into reality. Miss Shanjena, may I ask you, how old are you? I'm 200 years old. But according to the life system of the bloodkin, I'm just about the same as a 20-year-old human girl, said Shanjena with a smile. Hiss. Despite having accepted her identity, Moe was still shocked by this revelation. She is 200 years old. And yet similar to a young human in his or her 20s. This heaven is really unfair. Moe lamented and sighed inwardly. He then turned to look at Tang Xiao and asked, Boss, you wanted me to come over to Shanghai to see this miss from the bloodkin. What is it for? To study her, of course, said Tang Xiao with a smile. Moe's eyes lit up and his whole being was immediately full of excitement. Studying a vampire? Wouldn't he become the only biologist in the world to obtain this huge opportunity? After studying her, maybe I can find a lot of biological mysteries and obtain a lot of results that are important to human beings. I agree. Since you agreed, you can make a list of the instruments you need and give it to me, Professor Mo. I'll assign some people to buy them for you, said Tang Xiao with a smile. But since Shanjena's identity is quite special, you can only cooperate with her and conduct the research here. Also, you are not to expose anything about having seen Shanjena. Even if you do achieve results, you must keep everything confidential. Moe firmly nodded and said, Rest assured, boss. I'll do as you said. Shanghai, the Bund. Qin Xiaoyang wore a cap and a black windproof coat as he leaned on the guardrail by the river. A smile hung on his face while looking at the slender woman who was coming over from the distance. What brought you to Shanghai, young Master Qin? Why aren't you just staying obediently in Blue City? Are you not afraid that Zhang Fella will learn that you're in Shanghai and make you use ointment on your eyes? The graceful and gentle female wore a mink coat with a light blue scarf as she gracefully walked over in her high-heeled shoes. Her face wore a playful smile, and the faint scent of her perfume could be smelled even before her voice faded away. Qin Xiaoyang stuffed his hands into his pockets and grinningly said, I heard that the Zhang family has that guy grounded now. Seems like he has provoked some big shot or something. Else, how could a nobody like me run up to Shanghai, which is literally his own turf? Anyways, I heard that Zhang fella has been pursuing you for more than 2 years. You haven't softened down, have you? The graceful woman rolled her eyes and groaned, I could still consider it if Zhang Zitao really had the ability, but he is just too inexperienced. What about you, young Master Qin? Do you have no interest at all on this young lady? Don't tell me you don't like women. Qin Xiaoyang rolled his eyes and snappily replied, Can we have a proper talk, Nijie? Besides, you're a few years older than me, can't you just give me some slack? I'm kinda enjoying it. Nijie laughed. You haven't changed even a bit in these years. Qin Xiaoyang shook his head and smilingly said. Anyways, there's something important I need to discuss with you, how about having a chat while strolling? How about going to the coffee house nearby? Nijie smiled. A civet coffee is served there, and its flavor is kind of indigenous. Your treat. No problem. Binjiang Avenue, Pato Coffee House. The elegant coffee house was filled with melodious, light music. Though there were only a few guests now, all of them were well-dressed, in a manner and style of successful people. In a spot near the glazed window toward the avenue, Zhang Zitao leaned on the sofa with eyes filled with a burning, fervent expression as he intently gazed at a woman in the corner. That woman was Shui Yu. He had seen too many beautiful women to count, but a woman who gave off an aura like an orchid in a secluded valley was the type he had never seen. She looked so rare, yet noble and beautiful that she was like a mysterious woman who descended on earth from the 9 heavens, looking pure and chaste without the slightest contamination. His heart was palpitating and also moved. The number of women who could move his heart ever since he was a child until becoming an adult was not more than 3. Including Shui Yu. The reason why he did not straightly try to speak with her was that he had a ridiculous feeling that this woman could only be seen from a distance and not to be blasphemed. All right, let's sit by the window. Nijia smilingly said after glancing around. She did not see Zhang Zitao since he sat with his back facing them. All right. Qin Xiaoyang needed to discuss something with her, so he did not care about the spot where they would sit. However, when they passed by Zhang Zitao's table toward the seats by the window, Qin Xiaoyang's complexion froze at this moment, since he saw Zhang Zitao there. What happened? Seeing that Qin Xiaoyang's expression was unnatural, Nijia turned her head and looked back, and then saw Zhang Zitao whose fervent eyes were intently fixated at the inside corner. A strange expression then immediately painted her face. Wow, it's really a small world. Qin Xiaoyang forced out a bitter smile and immediately walked toward Zhang Zitao, saying with a helpless expression, "Young Master Zhang, I did not have the intention to make any noise in Shanghai, but I must meet with Nijia to discuss an important matter and ask for her help. I just didn't expect that Shanghai would be this small and run into you here." Zhang Zitao slightly furrowed his brows and turned around. After he saw that it was Qin Xiaoyang, he stared at him and immediately beckoned. Forget about that trivial thing that happened in the past. Besides, you got nothing to do with the matter in the first place. Don't take my threat to your heart. Anyways, go tend to your business. I don't have time to talk to you now. Chapter 707, Gotten Rid of by the Uncle. A faint smile outlined on the corner of Qin Xiaoyang's mouth. In order to realize the plan to set up the Universe Literature Media Company, he stayed in Blue City for some time, aiming to unearth some excellent students in the Regal Classical Music Academy. As a result, he accidentally bumped into Zhang Zitao there, and due to a small dispute, his friend suffered a bit of a loss and even got threatened despite acting low-key. And now, he ran into Zhang Zitao again in Shanghai. Though he displayed a humble and scared expression on the surface, he secretly made up his mind to really pack up this fella by himself if this guy were to act rampant and unbridled. But who would have thought that instead of provoking him again, this guy acted like he did not want to continue the dispute and neither did he want to bother him. After seeing Zhang Zitao, Nijia followed the direction of his sight and her eyes then landed on Shui Yu, who was quietly reading a book. Despite being a woman, she was still amazed by her looks and was also subdued by her bearing. She finally realized why Zhang Zitao did not see her even though she stood in front of him. Is that young lady a friend of yours, Zhang Zitao? Why don't you introduce us to her? Nijia was originally pursued by Zhang Zitao. Even though she kept ignoring him, yet she too enjoyed the feeling of being pursued. But now she felt sour and upset upon seeing that guy had a new target. Shush, you're bothering. Zhang Zitao angrily shifted his gaze to Nijia. But when he saw her, his voice came to a halt instantly and was seemingly afraid of being found out as he quickly glanced at Shui Yu, and then hurriedly got up and said with a smile, "Little Jia, how come you are here?" "I was just thinking about things, so I did not notice you." Cough, cough. Nijia shot him a harsh glare and mocked. "I can tell that beauty has captured your soul, isn't that right?" Speaking about her, her beauty is indeed outstanding and is definitely able to topple a kingdom. With an aura like an orchid in a secluded valley, Her figure still looks evidently outstanding even though she's only sitting there quietly. No wonder you're completely bewitched. Zhang Zitao let out a hollow laugh and then explained, little Jia, I don't know her either. Also, you're also very outstanding in my eyes. Oh, shut it. Jia quickly waved her hand. I'm not interested in you. I'd love to help you hook up with that beauty if you could stop pestering me. Alright, Xiaoyang just came to Shanghai and we have something to discuss. Go appreciate your beauty yourself. Young Master Zhang, we won't accompany you, said Qin Xiaoyang with a smile. Fickle as he was, it was simply Zhang Zitao's natural instinct being fond of beauty. And in his eyes, Jia was also his favorite woman. Now that she had a date with another man, it made him quite vexed. Just as Qin Xiaoyang's voice faded away, he immediately said, hold on. Is there something, young Master Zhang? Asked Qin Xiaoyang. With knitted brows, Zhang Zitao said, who are you really? How can you know little Jia? Haven't I already told you when we met in Blue City? Said Qin Xiaoyang with a smile. I'm just a nobody who does a small business to make a bit of pocket money to take back home. I'm nothing but a dwarf compared to you, young Master Zhang. Zhang Zitao's brows furrowed deeper. The more modest Qin Xiaoyang was, the more he felt that this fellow was not as simple as he looked. Because he knew Jia's character, proud like a phoenix, and ordinary people would not be able to enter her eyes at all. However, he was proud to the bone. This was Shanghai, his territory, and the woman who did not look at him in the eyes turned out to be taken by another man. Therefore, his complexion turned cold and he said in a heavy tone, I don't give a damn about your status or who you are. Stay away from Jia, else I won't mind to cash in what I told you in Blue City. Qin Xiaoyang shot a deep look at him before he suddenly said with a smile, I finally get it now why you kicked an iron plate a while ago. You know, there's a line stated in the art of war, know thyself and know thy enemies, and only then will you be victorious in battle. You have yet to figure out the identity of who you are facing, yet you dare to act arrogant and provoke others. Could it be that you are not afraid that you will court a calamity upon your family? Zhang Zitao was shaken inwardly. He faintly felt that the last sentence spoken by Qin Xiaoyang was somewhat familiar. After a while, he suddenly recalled it. It was at that time when he provoked Tang Xiu and he spoke these words to him. Could it be? With a change in expression, Zhang Zitao blurted, do you know Tang Xiu? How can I not know him? Tang Xiu is the idol of all the scions and young ladies of the prominent families in Beijing. What's wrong? Judging from what you said, you seem to know Tang Xiu too? Zhang Zitao's heart tightened and he asked, what is your relationship with Tang Xiu? Who exactly are you? At the side, Jia looked at Zhang Zitao with some pity and said, as far as I know, you went to Beijing last year, yet you boasted to those scoundrel buddies of yours that you got the qualification to enter Kongda Club, and then squandered a lot of money there for a couple of days. Don't tell me you don't know the owner of Kongda Club? What? Zhang Zitao was as though getting zapped by thunder, making him limp and numb. Kongda Club? The highest-ranked club in Beijing that numerous scions of notable families in the country have been dreaming to be eligible to enter. Is this guy, the big boss? Finally, Zhang Zitao understood what it meant by playing the pig to swallow the tiger was. That amazing fella who established Kongda Club, whether in terms of wealth, status, or network, each of them was enough to crush him. His father may have a high status in Shanghai and his family might be a genuinely rich and powerful clan, but... Qin Xiaoyang slightly smiled and took out his business card, handed it over to Zhang Zitao and said, I know Tang Xiu because we are friends and also partners in business. This time, if it wasn't because I needed to see him and also have something to take care of in Shanghai, I would not have dared to ignore the threat from the local tyrant here, neither would I dare to easily disregard you and visit Shanghai. This time, Zhang Zitao really wanted to weep. Never did he think that the bad luck he carried on his shoulder would smash his own heel due to his own fart. The matter he provoked Tang Xiu that day could be said as let the bygones be bygones, but he even provoked Qin Xiaoyang, who played the pig, to eat the tiger today. The only thing that made him feel relieved was that he did not drag things further with the threat he said in Blue City previously. Otherwise, he would have really courted a huge trouble if he directly started an attack the moment he saw Qin Xiaoyang. However, the male chauvinism inside him prevailed. Nijia was in front of him, and he did not want to bow his head and admit his mistake, thus he could only bite the bullet. Even if you're the owner of Kongda Club, I won't change my original intention, stay away from Nijia, for she will definitely be my woman in the future. As for Tang Xiu, he's my uncle. Uncle? Qin Xiaoyang blanked and revealed a strange expression. Though he did obtain the news that Zhang Zitao just kicked an iron plate some time ago due to provoking a powerful figure, he did not know who the person was. But Tang Xiu was surnamed Tang, while Zhang Zitao's surname was Zhang. How come they were related as uncle and nephew? Could it be that Tang Xiu and Zhang Yuming had become sworn brothers? At this time, Nijia was similarly dumbfounded. She naturally knew Tang Xiu and even vividly remembered him, since he was also at the scene when that ugly woman slapped her in the face last year. Yet, she did not expect that Tang Xiu was so powerful. It should be just the same surname with the same name, right? Nijia pondered for a moment, as her eyes then fell on Zhang Zitao. She had a faint delusion that this guy seemed to be somewhat different than before. For example, he did not press Qin Xiaoyang the moment he met him, and now that he finally knew of his unusual identity, he did not bow his head either. Could it be that his love for me is really sincere? The thought crossed Nijia's mind, and she now had a different impression toward the guy. Though she did not have much interest in him, she could opt to become friends with this fella if he could really mature. In the corner of the coffee house, Shuiyu put down the book in her hand, picked her handbag she just bought and prepared to leave. Though she heard the conversation between Zhang Zitao and those people and even heard Tang Xiu's name being mentioned, she did not want to be involved in the discussion. To her, Tang Xiu was an outstanding man, and for him to be acquainted with many people was just normal. Zhang Zitao, who had been paying attention to Shuiyu and now saw that she was about to leave, felt somewhat torn inside. After weighing matters, he decided to go out and then spoke, "Little Jia, there's something I need to take care of, so I'll go first. I'll look for you again another day." Nijia also noticed that Shuiyu was preparing to leave. Now, hearing Zhang Zitao's words, the change of impression she just had toward the guy instantly vanished, turning into irritation and disgust. She then waved her hand and said, "Just go take care of your things. Don't worry about us. Also, you don't need to look for me later since I already have tons of things to deal with." Zhang Zitao seemed to not hear anything she said, and just shot a warning look toward Qin Xiaoyang, and then chased after Shuiyu who had just left the coffee house. The distance between them was a few hundreds of meters away, so he rapidly caught up and then blocked Shuiyu's path, saying, "Hello, I'm Zhang Zitao. May I know your name, young lady?" Shuiyu frowned and halted her pace. From the conversation between this guy with Nijia and Qin Xiaoyang, she thought that Zhang Zitao was the type of man who was fickle in love, the kind she never liked. However, on the account of Tang Xiu's face, she still spoke, albeit indifferently, "My name is Shuiyu, but you can call me Auntie." Auntie? Zhang Zitao was dumbfounded. But since he was not someone who could be taken advantage of, he asked after hesitating, "Why? Why should I address you like that?" "Well, I'm Tang Xiu's woman," said Shuiyu. "What?" Zhang Zitao was utterly speechless, and his whole being was as though getting zapped by thunder again. He had imagined numerous identities Shuiyu might have, and even already predicted that she already had a boyfriend or was married already. But never once did he ever predict that she turned out to be Tang Xiu's woman. "You call Tang Xiu as your uncle, so you naturally should call me Auntie." Shuiyu nodded. "Anyways, I'm going to Blue Star Villa Complex later, do you want to go with me?" "Shit. I've gotten rid of by him, uncle." Zhang Zitao was completely depressed and roared inwardly. He shook his head and desperately put on a theatrical look, saying, "No, no, no, I have other things to do. I can't go to Blue Star Villa Complex. If you see Tang Xiu, please send him my regards." With that said, he ran away with his tail between his legs. Chapter 708, Taking a Risk. It was Monday, and Tang Xiu fully attended all the 3 classes he had today to the end. Even though he already finished learning all the contents and knowledge in the books, Han Qinggu did not want to see him skip classes, while he also did not want to haggle over this matter with her. As the last class bell rang, Yu Kai, who sat next to Tang Xiu, came over and whispered, "Do you have any plans tonight? If not, how about joining us bowling?" Tang Xiu himself already had a plan in mind, so he shook his head and said, "There's something I gotta do tonight, so I'm afraid I can't join you. Let's change it to some other day when I'm not too busy. I'll treat you all brothers to a meal later." Having learned about Tang Xiu's identity as well as his busy schedule in managing his business, Yu Kai nodded and said, "Okay. But be very careful when you go out. Shanghai has not been tranquil and peaceful recently, and there had been several homicide cases in just a few days. You're a big boss, so you should take some bodyguards with you." Several homicide cases? Tang Xiu was surprised and asked, "What murders?" "I only heard about the one where 4 nightclub girls were killed. The murdered nightclub girls case is only one of them. 2 more murder cases occurred in Fanyu District and Jingning District. I heard that even a cop was killed, and the culprit must be the one who did it. You see, the police are now employing a very strict blockade. I wouldn't have known about this if my old man hadn't called me and told me to pay attention to safety when I go out of the campus." Tang Xiu nodded and thought that the other 2 murder cases should not be extraordinary events, else the everlasting feast hall's intelligence personnel would have informed him. After the teacher left, Tang Xiu handed over his textbooks to Yu Kai to bring them back while he walked toward the outside of the classroom building alone. He had not bought the research instruments needed by Professor Moe, and Tang Xiu still wanted to know about the past happenings here previously. Honk, honk. A red BMW slowly stopped by Tang Xiu's side. As the door was opened, Han Qinggu got off and walked toward Tang Xiu. Her walking posture looked somewhat unusual, and there was a blood stain on her white neck. "Do you have time tonight? Let's have dinner together." Tang Xiu slightly knitted his brows and did not immediately reply, but observed her before saying, "Are you injured?" "It's nothing. I was slightly injured during the training," said Han Qinggu without thinking. Tang Xiu nodded and asked again, "Is there something up?" "I want to speak to you about something," said Han Qinggu. "Anyways, let's walk and find a place to eat, and then we'll talk about that while having a bite." Tang Xiu did not refuse and sat in the front seat. The red BMW started moving and left the Shanghai University quickly. While sitting on the front seat, Tang Xiu looked at Han Qingwu's face from the side and suddenly said, "Let's eat in Paradise Manor. Your grandpa is also there." Han Qingwu was stunned for a moment, and then immediately asked, "How could my grandpa be in Paradise Manor? And how do you know that?" "He was injured and now is healing his wounds there," said Tang Xiu. "He might tell you the cause when you get there." Han Qingwu knew Tang Xiu's character, and if this guy did not want to say it, then she would never get the answer even if she insisted and forced him to. When they arrived at Paradise Manor, Tang Xiu directly led Han Qingwu to the foreign-styled building where Han Jintong was staying, and then found only Shan Zhenna, who was currently watching TV in the living room. "Where are Professor Mo and Han Jintong?" asked Tang Xiu. Shan Zhenna jumped up and after approaching, she respectfully answered, "Professor Mo is currently sorting out the data and documents in the other room, whereas teacher is also currently healing himself, Mr. Tang. Anyways, thanks for giving him the holy healing medicine. His injuries are already better, and teacher said that he will be fully healed in 2 to 3 days at most. Go call him." Tell him that his granddaughter is here, said Tang Xiu. At this time, Han Jintong walked out of the room into the hallway and he immediately looked surprised after seeing Han Xingwu, saying, "Little Wu, why are you here?" Han Xingwu, who already knew that her grandpa was injured, strode toward Han Jintong and asked with a concerned expression all over her face, "I heard from Tang Xiu that you were injured, Grandpa. How is your injury now? What exactly happened and who did it?" Han Jintong looked at Tang Xiu and immediately said with a smile, "Don't worry, my injuries are about to heal, so it's no big deal. Anyways, about what happened, it's quite a complicated matter. I'll tell you about that later." "That's right. This is Shanjena, my student in the Yale University when I was teaching there." "Hi, Qingwu. I'm Shanjena, and I'm very pleased to meet you." Shanjena stretched her hand out and said with a smile. "Anyways, Professor often mentioned you when I was in the United States." Han Qingwu shook hands with her and said, "Hi, Shanjena. Anyways, my granddad doesn't want to tell me what exactly happened, could you tell me about that?" Shanjena glanced at Han Jintong and Tang Xiu. After seeing the calm expression on their faces, and as they did not try to prevent her, she immediately said with an apologetic expression, "In fact, it was because of me that Professor got injured. I'm a member of the Bloodkin and was being hunted, so I ran away to China. I knew that he lived here, so I asked for his help and hoped that he could give me a safe place to hide. I never thought that those assassination agents had used the Dark Soul scent on me, the type of agent with a strong tracking effect. As a result, they always knew my whereabouts, while the professor also did not want to leave me alone, hence the reason why we all got injured." "What organization is this Bloodkin?" Only recently did Han Qingwu learn about some huge international organizations, but she had never heard of this organization. "The Bloodkin is not an organization, but the collective name for a race," explained Shanjena. "And members of Bloodkin turn into what you call as a vampire." With that said, she spread out her wings and revealed her fangs. She then continued explaining while releasing her huge aura, "You should have watched the TV about us. And those vampires aired there are of our Bloodkin. But then again, there are some differences between those on TV with us, nonetheless." A shocked expression could be seen on Han Qingwu's face, though she did not look as scared as Moe was. Upon sensing that huge aura that came pressing from the front, she also unleashed a similar huge aura that surged toward Shanjena. "What?" Han Jintong, who stood at the side, could feel the huge aura from Shanjena and Han Qingwu. A disbelieving expression painted his old face, while his eyeballs stared so wide that they almost dropped. Shanjena was very powerful, that he knew. But when did his baby granddaughter become such a powerhouse? "All right, stop." Tang Xiu glanced at them and then went to the sofa to take a seat, saying, "I never thought that you were already so powerful in such a short time, Han Qingwu. You should have reached the peak of the qi refining stage, right? You may soon be able to contend with Shanjena if you keep maintaining this progress rate." "No, I'm still weak." Han Qingwu shook her head. "Some martial arts grandmasters may be able to defeat me if I don't use true essence to fight them. I learned some martial arts skills from your men, but those moves are not suitable for me, because they are specifically used for killing." Finally, Han Jintong could not bear it anymore and walked toward Han Qingwu and asked excitedly, "Little Wu, you have become a cultivator too?" "I only practice a set of cultivation technique, Grandpa." Han Qingwu nodded. "While my strength and speed have indeed improved a lot, but I'm not good at the rest." Han Jintong's old face was full of excitement, nonetheless. He thought that it was Tang Xiu who taught his granddaughter a cultivation technique, so he spoke to him gratefully. "Thank you for teaching a cultivation technique to my granddaughter, Mr. Tang. The grace you have bestowed upon the Han family is greater than the heavens." "What benevolence?" asked Han Qingwu, confused. Han Jintong quickly said, "Little Wu, Shanjena and I were originally being hunted down by the enemies and were in a hopeless situation. If it wasn't for Mr. Tang who suddenly came to save us, I'm afraid that we would be dead already by now. So, he's my savior. Han Qingwu did not expect that there was such a hidden story at all. Just as she was about to express her gratitude, Tang Xiu did not give her the opportunity as he already got up and said, "All right, you all continue chatting, I'm going to arrange for the dinner." At the door, Mo, who just came over and saw Tang Xiu coming out, quickly said, "Boss, Qinan called and said there's someone from Chengxi City who wants to see you. His name is Jimu and he's in Shanghai now. However, Qinan did not dare to decide anything without your permission, so she called me to ask you about this." Jimu? Tang Xiu remembered this guy, who he got acquainted with previously when he participated in the car race on the Laoshan Highway. After giving it a thought, he then nodded and said, "All right, tell Qinan to let that Jimu guy come to this Paradise Manor." "Understood." Mo replied and immediately walked away. At this time, Han Qingwu walked out of the room and saw Tang Xiu lighting a cigarette. She then came over and spoke, "Tang Xiu, thank you." "It's nothing," said Tang Xiu calmly. Han Qingwu fell silent for more than 10 seconds. Then, she seemed to have decided something and said, "Do you have time the day after tomorrow? Care to accompany me to a certain place? Is this the true purpose you wanted to find me today?" asked Tang Xiu. "Yes." Han Qingwu nodded. "Where to?" asked Tang Xiu. "The day after tomorrow is the finals of the National Underground Fighting Competition. At that time, there will be a lot of Kung Fu masters and even a few at the Grandmaster level. One of them is called Li Tong, who is only about 40 years old but has reached the Grandmaster level in just about 5 or 6 years ago. His style is very cunning, cruel, and vicious at the same time. 60% of those who were defeated by him in the past were killed, 30% turned into disabled, and only 10% who quickly admitted defeat escaped the predicament. I know that my strength is very strong at present, but I'm lacking the confidence when facing a true life and death combat. So, I want you to accompany me there. Would you go with me?" Tang Xiu frowned and said, "When did you start participating in the underground fighting?" "It's been 2 months already," said Han Qingwu, biting her lips. Tang Xiu secretly sighed. He did not expect that Han Qingwu would be this stubborn as she actually took the risk of participating in the underground fighting just because she wanted to become stronger. He heard of the underground fighting, where those who participate must sign a life and death contract, that whether they would live or die in the ring would fully rely on their own strength. Chapter 709, A Storm of Jealousy. Tang Xiu had hatred toward Shui Qingqing, and Han Qingwu's identity was a complicated matter inside his heart. However, he did not want her to die on the underground fighting arena, for he was hoping that she would regain her memory about what had happened in the immortal world and then settle the matters between the two of them thoroughly. "All right. I'll go." Tang Xiu replied with an expressionless face and directly walked away. He did not want to spend more time idling with Han Qingwu, for it would make his mind keep recalling the years he spent together with Shui Qingqing in the immortal world. Those years of blissful and sweet times were now like a sharp knife shearing his heart. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu came to the dining building of the Paradise Manor. He picked the spot by the window on the second floor at random, took out a cigarette and lit it up. He wondered why Han Qingwu wanted to become stronger. Even if that incident in Jingmen Island was the one that drove her to do so, it should not be a sufficient enough reason for her to participate in the underground fighting arena in a life and death combat, to temper herself. What is exactly the true reason? The more he thought about it, the more he became confused and the more his expression turned serious. "What are you thinking about now?" A fragrant scent came fluttering as Lulu, donned in a black leather jacket, approached with her loose long hair elegantly flowing. She asked the question after taking a seat on the opposite side of Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu stretched out his brows, shook his head and said, "I'm just thinking over some small things." "That reminds me of something." I'm also waiting for a friend to come here, and his name is Jimu. Tell your people to bring him here after he arrives. Lulu nodded, then took out her mobile and made a call. She then held her chin while staring at Tang Xiu, and said, Tang Xiu, you gotta teach me how to cultivate. You can't just favor one more than the other. With brows slightly pressed down, Tang Xiu asked, I'm fine teaching you a cultivation technique, but why did you say I favor one more than the other? Since I saw that vampire, Shanjena, I realized that you also know how to cultivate. Not only you, but even Xiaoxuan knows about it, thus I called Kong Xia, said Ouyang Lulu. Why did you call her? Tang Xiu blanked, baffled. Ugh. Do you think I'm stupid? Ouyang Lulu groaned. I'm not sure if the other women have a vague and indescribable relationship with you, but I'm hella sure of Kong Xia. Because she would not have gone all out to manage the magnificent Tang Corporation if it weren't for you. I can even tell that you're not managing all the affairs in the company at all since she's the one who does it all. Tang Xiu already knew that Lulu was smart, but not to this degree. She definitely made a conjecture herself after calling Kong Xia, else with the latter's ability and intelligence, it was absolutely impossible for her to speak out this statement easily. Nonetheless, he never understood how a woman's brain worked either. He, however, could faintly feel the many troubles he had with women, since one did not need to experience something firsthand when examples were already there, like those emperors in the olden times who housed 72 imperial concubines in the 3 palaces and 6 manors, which then led to wonderful scenes and plays in the imperial court for one generation after another. Didn't those figures who had 3 wives and 4 concubines eventually have fires break out in their backyards? Looking at Tang Xiu, who fell silent, Ouyang Lulu's heart suddenly jolted and she quickly said, Honey, I'm not complaining about it. Neither am I going to compete with Kong Xia about my status or whatever. As long as you care about me and remember that I'm your woman, it is already enough for me. Just like cultivation. She said that, but her hands under the table were clenched tightly. Lulu realized that Kong Xia's position in Tang Xiu's heart was quite firm. Her helping Tang Xiu to manage his business empire was already something she could not compete with. She firmly believed, however, that she could create a hole in the stone by dripping water on it constantly. Tang Xiu might have a frozen heart sealed by ice, but she could use her warm love to melt it and carve herself inside. I'll stay here tonight, said Tang Xiu after slowly raising his head. Lulu's eyes lit up and immediately looked full of joy while repeatedly nodding her head. She understood what Tang Xiu meant, and she could also notice the change in his attitude. In the past, Tang Xiu always repelled her. Even if they did have sex a couple days ago, it was because she was the one who goaded and lured him to act. And yet, Tang Xiu never touched her again since 2 days ago. Saying that she did not feel at a loss inside was absolutely a lie, but she was also a woman who had her own restraint. She could not always resort to using aggressive means to lure him, either she could act like she was desperate. Sure enough. He does have a soft heart. Forcing him too excessively will only make me lose everything, and the losses will definitely outweigh the gains. For men, one must use a roundabout way to make his heart open a little before you want to capture his heart. Only then a woman can constantly deepen the relationship in the future, and eventually make him accept her until he cannot separate from her again. At this time, Lulu's smile was particularly brilliant, making her eyes turn into a crescent moon. On a road near the Paradise Manor, a Maserati vroomed and rushed toward the venue, while Jimu, who was the driver, was filled with a pleasantly surprised mood after learning from Qi Nan that Tang Xiu was willing to see him. He could not forget the scene he saw in Laoshan that night 2 days ago, neither could he erase the magical means Tang Xiu displayed from his mind. Certainly, he also saw the ruthless side of Tang Xiu when he ordered to kill those 6 monsters. Though he did feel somewhat disturbed inside, the enthusiasm to go all out in his life was entrenched deep inside his bones, and the very reason that made him decide to go forward. He wanted to be stronger. He wanted to possess terrifying power like Tang Xiu. He was willing to take a risk and try even if he could only learn how to fly. Hence, he came to Shanghai after spending an enormous time and energy to prepare an extravagant gift. Yet it was only a stalk of a 2,000 years old wild ginseng that he bought for nearly 1 billion yuan from his grandfather's good friend. Quickly, Jimu parked his car in the parking lot of the Paradise Manor. Before he got off the car, a middle-aged man came over and knocked on the window. "You are?" Jimu asked, puzzled. "Are you Mr. Ji?" "Jimu?" asked the middle-aged man. "I am," said Jimu. "Hello, Mr. Ji. My boss asked me to wait for you here, and I was ordered to take you to him immediately after you arrived," said the middle-aged man. "Is your boss, Tang Shou?" asked Jimu. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment and then said, "Mr. Tang could be considered as my boss too since he's the man of our boss." "Huh?" Jimu asked with a curious expression. "Who is your boss then?" "The surname of my boss is Ouyang, from Jingmen Island," answered the middle-aged man. Jimu already knew that the Ouyang family resided in Jingmen Island and even had met the young lady of this family a few times. Though he had no relationship with her at all since this young lady of the Ouyang family was like a proud, lofty princess, he still had a fresh and vivid memory of her. His expression suddenly changed as he looked at the middle-aged man and asked, "Isn't your boss called Ouyang Lulu?" "You're correct, Mr. Ji." The middle-aged man smiled. "My boss is indeed Ouyang Lulu. Do you know my boss, by chance?" There was, however, an indescribable feeling inside Jimu's heart. He knew Ouyang Lulu was outstandingly beautiful, who he thought to be almost on par with Zhang Xinya, the woman he thought as the most beautiful. He did not expect that she would be Tang Shou's woman. However, when he recalled Tang Shou's status and identity, he suddenly felt relieved, since he thought that for such a terrifying existence like Tang Shou, only a beauty the likes of the Ouyang Lulu's level who could be worthy to be with him.
"Yeah,
I met her a couple of times," said Jimu perfunctorily. He took out the gift from the trunk and followed the middle-aged man into the dining building. When he noticed that Ouyang Lulu was sitting by the window and was chatting with Tang Shou, he immediately stepped forward and said with a prudent smile, "Brother Tang, big sis-in-law, I'm disturbing you, am I?" "Brother Tang? Big sis-in-law?" Tang Shou was struck with a feeling of being at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh by Jimu's address. He just met this fella once, how come they were so familiar already? On the contrary, Lulu, who felt sweet inside after hearing him address her as big sis-in-law, secretly appreciated Jimu for that. After getting up quickly, she stood by the table and said with a smile, "Jimu, I never thought the friend Tang Shou mentioned would be you. It seems like my man is so outstanding that he even befriended the young master of the Ji family from Chengxi City. Anyways, have a chat with him, then. I'm going to the kitchen to prepare the meal and a bottle of good wine for you." After watching Lulu leave, only then did Tang Shou make a gesture to Jimu to take a seat on the opposite side, and then asked, "Brother Jimu, why did you address us like that?" Jimu pushed the 4 gift boxes tied up by colored ropes and said with a smile, "It's been a long time since the last time we met in Laoshan last year. I can still remember the elegant style and demeanor you had back then, Brother Tang. You see, I'm kinda unoccupied recently, so I came to Shanghai to visit you." "And, what are these?" Tang Shou pointed to the 4 gift boxes. "I recently got some stuff, so I thought to prepare them as a gift to you since I came to visit. I hope you can accept these, Brother Tang." Tang Shou squinted his eyes and shot a deep gaze at Jimu. The sudden visit did as well. The gifts he had prepared must contain a deep meaning. After being silent for a while, he slowly asked, "Is there anything I can help you with, Jimu?" "No, no, no." Jimu stared blankly for a moment and immediately shook his head. "I really just wanted to visit you because I admire your abilities, Brother Tang. There are only a few people worthy of my admiration nowadays, so I decided to get closer to you and get along better. That's all. That's what I came here for." Tang Xiu could not help laughing. You know, the way you make friends is kind of strange. Anyhow, I'll receive this gift no matter your other purposes are. If you don't rush back tonight, stay and spend the night here. All right, replied Jimu, feeling happy. Ring ring ring. The mobile phone in Tang Xiu's pocket suddenly rang. When he took it out and looked at the caller on the screen, his expression immediately turned strange. After some thought, he answered the call without asking Jimu to leave and spoke, "How do you remember to call me, Xiaoyang?" Qin Xiaoyang's voice then came out from the mobile phone, "Brother Tang, I'm in Shanghai now, do you have some time to have a meal together?" There's something I want to discuss with you." Tang Xiu had a business cooperation with Qin Xiaoyang, so he naturally did not reject it. He then covered the phone's mic and looked at Jimu, saying, "A friend from Beijing said that he wants to see me to discuss something. How about I call him here and we all have a drink together?" Chapter 710, A Garden Full of Bells. Being able to meet Tang Xiu already made Jimu rejoice. How would he have the time to care about Tang Xiu's other friend who would also come? Tang Xiu's invitation made him very flattered. He secretly thought that Tang Xiu concealed himself very deeply and had a good character at the same time. Jimu? After more than half an hour, Qin Xiaoyang arrived and looked surprised when he saw that the person who was dining with Tang Xiu turned out to be Jimu. Jimu was similarly stunned since he did not expect that the friend Tang Xiu mentioned turned out to be Qin Xiaoyang, someone who he had sworn brothers with. Shoving back the chair and getting up, Jimu said with a smile, "Brother Tang just told me he was waiting for a friend to come, but I never thought it would be you, second brother. I did not expect that the person Brother Tang was having a drink with was you either," Jimu said Qin Xiaoyang with a smile. "Why are you here?" "I'm the one who is paying a visit to Brother Tang." After listening to the conversation between the two men, Tang Xiu waved to Qin Xiaoyang, hinting for him to take a seat, and then asked, "You two already know each other?" "Jimu and I are sworn brothers, Brother Tang," said Qin Xiaoyang with a smile. He kind of liked to stroll around everywhere when he was young, having a strong camaraderie and also liked stick to the brotherhood code. "I happened to bump into Jimu back when I had a fight with some people, and then we gradually got along well from then on. We then found that we were the same kind of people and got along well, so..." Tang Xiu immediately understood and said with a smile, "Well, that saves me from introducing the two of you. Anyways, what are you doing in Shanghai, Xiaoyang? Is there something up?" Qin Xiaoyang glanced at Jimu, and then finally answered without trying to avoid him, "There are two things. Firstly, our company has been set up and the HQ will be in Beijing, and we'll start the business on May 1st. Can you come over and attend it? We invested quite a lot to hire a CEO for the company, Xu Chongtian, and he wishes to meet you and Chu Yi." "I'll go if I can take a vacation during the May holiday," said Tang Xiu. "Tell me the second reason." "The big star Zhang Xingya is currently in Shanghai, and I heard from a friend of mine that you have a good relationship with her. Can you ask her to go to our company, by chance?" asked Qin Xiaoyang. "You know, the contract between her and her previous agency is over, so she's free now. Business is business, and friendship is friendship. I understand this principle, and certainly, it's possible to use friendship to discuss business as well," said Tang Xiu. "If that is the case, I'll phone Zhang Xingya later to ask whether she is interested to join our company. But I'll respect her choice regardless of which decision she makes, though." Looking happy, Qin Xiaoyang then looked around first before he spoke in a low voice, "I heard that she's kind of broke recently, Tang Xiu. As long as we give her a high price and a well-paid contract, I think she would hardly reject it. If anything, just tell her directly that we'll give her an advance payment bond worth 5 million yuan. She's broke?" asked Tang Xiu, surprised.
Yeah.
Qin Xiaoyang nodded. "It's a rumor that's been widely spread in many circles, that she has invested in some business. It's kind of related to some property construction business or something, and she has yet to earn any return at all. And now, tons of people in the entertainment industry are waiting to watch the good show. Tang Xiu could not help laughing and said, I get it. But I'm afraid those who want to see Zhang Xinya become a laughingstock will eventually look at her with envy, though. She will not lose her money, and instead, will definitely make a fortune in the future. Why do you say that? Asked Qin Xiaoyang, confused. Tang Xiu did not conceal it. It's because that real estate business she invested was with me. Have you heard of the Shanghai's Jinda estate belonging to Jing Xingkue? The new real estate project he is about to develop in the future was designed by me, while Zhang Xinya and I have shares in it. What? Qin Xiaoyang was taken aback, and even Ji Mu was stunned. Little did they think that Zhang Xinya would have such a deep relationship with Tang Xiu, much less being partners in business. Zhang Xinya is doomed to make a fortune. Definitely. Qin Xiaoyang and Ji Mu exchanged looks, and both of them thought the same, as though having a prior agreement. After all, for one to be able to cling to such a big tree like Tang Xiu, it would be easy for that person to make a fortune. About 10 p.m., Tang Xiu phoned Han Qingwu to ask for a one-day leave, and then called Zhang Xinya. Having learned that she was really in Shanghai, they then made an appointment to meet tomorrow. That night, Tang Xiu spent the time accompanying Lulu and had some rounds of sex. Despite having her body improved a lot, Lulu was still left tired and breathless, before she eventually slept in Tang Xiu's embrace. The next day, Tang Xiu left the Paradise Manor and headed to the place of the appointment he made with Zhang Xinya. What made him somewhat helpless was that this beauty parlor only accepted women, and did not allow gays or straight males to enter. Fortunately, Zhang Xinya had a good relationship with the owner, so a staff brought Tang Xiu from the back door and went directly to office area on the 4th floor. Is this a woman country or something? What surprised Tang Xiu was that this beauty parlor had at least 100 employees, and without exception, each and every one of them was a young belle. Despite having good self-control and a firm mind, Tang Xiu still felt awkward and embarrassed upon facing them, since nearly all of them wore a half-exposed gown while coming and going in the corridors. Wow, what a rare sight to see a man here. Who could have such a big face to make our boss open the back door, eh? Could it be that the boss is in love? 100 yuan bet. He's definitely not the boss man. She wouldn't be willing to let her boyfriend come to us here given her disposition, no? Yup, that's right. Boss would definitely hide her boyfriend from us if she was in love. Saving herself from the trouble of him getting bewitched and taken away by this pack of vixens. We sisters are all serving the ladies here. Who wants to make an exception and gang up this handsome fella? Well, if I could go for it, we'd be free at 2 p.m. Shameless. You're a fox. Tang Xiu could not help but secretly shake his head upon hearing the comments and teasing from this group of women. It was said that 3 women were enough to make a place noisy like a drama, and yet now there were more than 100 of them here. This was simply like dozens of big movies being played at the same time, and the scene was comparable to that of a grocery market. Thoroughly a blast. He subconsciously sped up his pace and followed the woman who brought him in, quickly crossed the office area, and then entered the innermost general manager office. By the window inside, a woman donned in a brown waistcoat, white blouse, white trousers, and short haircut, was waiting while watching the scene outside and looking at him from the sideline. She had a good figure with her hands stuffed into her trousers pocket, showing off a very elegant and charming posture. Boss, I brought Mr. Tang here. Okay. You may exit. The woman's voice was neutral, and she did not even turn her head. Yes. The woman left and closed the door. Tang Xiu wore a tranquil expression. Though he did not know whether Zhang Xinya was here or not, he also did not believe that this place was dangerous like of a dragon's pond or a tiger's cave, so he was not afraid to be engaged in some scheme. Seeing that the woman had yet to turn around, Tang Xiu went straight to the sofa at the side and sat, tilting his leg and asking, "Do you mind if I smoke?" the woman finally slowly turned around. Her beauty was suffocating, but the neutral dress she wore gave off a different kind of beauty. She looked colorfully beautiful and yet not bewitching, seemingly cold and yet not chilly. She was like a green lotus in the shallow pool of winter. You. Tang Xiu, who was just about to pull out a cigarette, froze, and an unusual light flashed in his eyes. Her face was nearly identical to Zhang Xinya's, but he could tell that she was definitely not Zhang Xinya. Two people might have an identical face, but it was impossible to perfectly imitate their temperaments. What's wrong? It's only been a short time since we last met and you don't recognize me anymore? A smile outlined on the corner of the woman's mouth. It was a smile with a bit of teasing. Tang Xiu shook his head and continued pulling his cigarette, lit it up and took a puff before speaking. You may look identical to Zhang Xinya, but you're definitely not her. And I've never seen nor met you before. If my guess is correct, you should be Zhang Xinya's twin sister, though I can't tell whether you are the younger or the older one. Oh. The woman now gazed at Tang Xiu deeply. His answer surprised her very much. Her name was Zhang Xinyue, Zhang Xinya's twin younger sister. Nobody had been able to really identify the siblings before since they were small, especially those who first saw them. And yet, this was the first time someone was firmly sure that she was not her sister, Zhang Xinya. Care to explain to me the reason why you said that? Zhang Xinyue folded her arms after turning her back toward the window and looked at Tang Xiu. It's very simple. You have a different temperament, said Tang Xiu. What I'm looking at is not your outside appearance, because one can dress up to look pretty and coquettish, but also dress up to look neutral. I said that you're not her because the temperament you give off is what's inside your bones, while there are also some nuances and subtle differences in your speech and gestures. Zhang Xinya has a gentle personality, and she gives off a feeling like bathing in the spring breeze, and you are different. Though this is our first meeting, the feeling you give off is like a cold colorful beauty, and yet not a chilling and bewitching one. Just like a quiet green lotus temperament. Clap clap clap. Zhang Xinyue applauded and praised. I finally get why my sister often mentions you in front of me. You're handsome, with exquisite mind and extraordinary intelligence. Of course, this may also be the very reason why you can set up the magnificent Tang Corporation, which now became the hottest startup company, with huge potential in the business world. I'm nothing but an ordinary man and a very ordinary college student. Tang Xiu shook his head and said with a smile. Children of the poor are usually able to manage their households earlier, so they can think and do a bit more than what others think. Facing Tang Xiu's modesty, Zhang Xinyue felt a bit uncomfortable. She thought that Tang Xiu should be a young man who had pride carved deep in his bones. For instance, a while ago. He straightly sat on the sofa comfortably and lit up a cigarette when she had yet to give consent. And yet, the modesty he showed was as though coming from his heart and not just a pretense. It was very contradictory, the likes of which the fusion of two personalities just like one could see from the fusion of the good and evil in the olden times, of the martial world. Nonetheless, it also formed a unique aura of righteousness and evil at the same time. He's the kind of man that cannot be seen through. Zhang Xinyue muttered to herself inwardly. She then came to Tang Xiu's front, took a seat and asked, My sister is currently having her makeup done, Mr. Tang. So you may have to wait for some time. While accompanying you, may I ask you a question?